What's up, everybody? This is Jacob, and today we're going to be talking about anime. Now, this is a completely new format I'm doing videos in. I have a script and everything right here that I'm going to be going off of, and we're going to try something new. So let me know what you think, and let's just get right into it. So the inspiration behind this video is that I had a conversation with my buddy from work recently. He approached me and said that he was starting to watch a new anime, and I got so excited because right when he said that, I immediately thought back to me asking him before. He hasn't been interested in anime before. I've tried, asking him if he's watched any. He hasn't mentioned it nor had any interest, and then time goes by, quarantine happens, and the world is not in a great place. But that's not what we're here to talk about. But basically, I start to think, which one? I have my own personal taste in anime. I tend to lean more towards the whole fighting aspect, and I don't really go, much into romance or anything like that, but I've dabbled, but all in all, I kind of prefer a more action, mystery, fighting type of anime, That being said, there's actually been a big old spike in interest in anime, and I think it partially has something to do with a little show that has been added onto Netflix. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and let the soundtrack take that away. It was announced a while ago that we'll be getting another adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the original creators of the Nickelodeon show are going to be more hands-on with the Netflix live-action show than they were with the M. Night Shyamalan interpretation. Then it finally happened. The show was added onto Netflix, and it has just been given another wave of appreciation, reigniting old and new fans' love for the show alike, and it has just been blowing up all over TikTok. I was watching the show with my girlfriend, and she had asked me on season 1, episode 4, The Warriors of Kyoshi, she asked me if this show was an anime, and quite honestly, I couldn't blame her for thinking that way. The Last Airbender is actually a very heavily anime-inspired show. The art style, the comedic presence, the power system, the way that the show has been storyboarded and laid out in front of us. There's a time skip. There are just bits and pieces of anime-inspired content all throughout the show. But after she had asked me that, I told her to pay attention to the mouths. I told her this because dialogue in anime and in this show is very different. In most animes, when somebody is talking, they have different levels of them opening and closing their mouths to match the line of dialogue. And while that is true here in the States, the animators also animate the oohs, the and the L sounds that people make when they talk. Interestingly enough, I had bought the show on Blu-ray a couple years back, and upon that viewing, that's when I discovered that The Last Avatar was not an anime. When I was in 6th grade, I had discovered that many things in my childhood were not made in the US and were imported from Japan and adapted for American audiences. And here are just a few things that Japan gave me on a Saturday morning. They gave me Godzilla. Meh. They gave me Power Rangers. And when I was a preteen, they gave me Dragon Ball Z Kai.
It's hopeless. There's no way you can stop my Gallic gun. Prepare to join this filthy orb in oblivion!
And it just kind of blew my mind that my favorite childhood show that was shown on Nicktoons was from Japan, and it was an anime, and that was not the original sounds. It was called an English dub, and after I'd watched that and I made the association with The Last Airbender and its art style, I had this preconception that it was also an anime, and I later found out after I rewatched it on Blu-ray that it was completely wrong and that it was made in the States, and it's just heavily anime inspired, which honestly, it is safe to say that many people, whether you like it or not, Avatar deserves an honorary anime medal of honor. I mean, come on, it's right in front of your fucking face. I think it's safe to say that if you like The Last Airbender, congratulations. You wouldn't hate anime. Now, as far as what you would want to watch is entirely based on preference. There's so much anime to watch. Now, unfortunately, while people are consuming it more and more, it does still have a stigma around it. Anime, while being interesting and at times plain beautiful and compelling, is still shunned and pushed aside by many people. And honestly, I completely get it. There are lots of passionate fans out there whose love just goes beyond watching the show. You'll have fans who are okay with just having stickers and t-shirts from their favorite shows, but then there's sort of those who go way too far and are very passionate, you know, with the posters, figurines, banners, flags, body pillows, and there's just a weird thing around the fan base. And I'm not saying loving a show is a bad thing, trust me, I completely get it, but the culture in general to those looking from the outside can seem a bit much to swallow and just ends up getting rejected outright. Plus there's another issue that's not really a big issue, but it is a deciding factor on whether or not someone will be interested in continue watching, and that's what language you have it in. And while Japanese is a beautiful language in its own right, sometimes it can come off a bit yeah. I would like to mention that there has been an increase in references to anime in Western culture as well. Famously, in The Amazing World of Gumball, Gumball turned Super Saiyan, and then even more recent, the show Space Force on Netflix had a full-on scene dedicated to talking about anime and manga and the differences between two shows, Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which I really liked. And while yeah, this may not be the answer we've all been looking for, and the walls have been torn down and everybody rushes towards anime, and now we're all fucking watching anime and hentai, ooh. No, but I really do think that this is a good step in the right direction in getting people to really approach anime and for it to not seem like this big scary thing that you have to dedicate your time to. I would like to offer a piece of advice for those who've tried to watch anime subtitled on their own for the first time because of a recommendation and they couldn't just quite get into it. Avoid watching the subbed version of anime first. And again, this is for first time anime viewers. If you have somebody doing something on screen that you have to pay attention to, plus they're talking, plus there's maybe inner thought and somebody else is talking in the show, plus you might even have a sign being translated or text being translated, and you have to listen to what they have to say, you're reading, you're trying to pay attention to what's happening, you're not used to watching a show and having to read what they say at the same time. It's a little too hard and you'll more than likely lose interest in it and not quite focus on what's happening. So please try and find a dubbed version of the show. Watch that version first. And I know people have their preferences on which version of the show they like, whether it's subbed or English dubbed or whatever language dubbed. People have their preferences. Personally, I don't care. I only watch subbed now because, quite frankly, it's more available than dubbed. Dubbed is almost in a corner over there on Hulu and Funimation's own app. Meanwhile, Crunchyroll and Verve, their subscriptions are a little cheaper, more affordable, they have more options, and they have subbed, which quite frankly, the dubs half the time fall behind the sub, so that's all you have. And so personally, I don't have a preference. And another piece of advice, do not watch the show alone. Like a lot of things in media, you can't just flip on the first episode and you'll be invested. You have to kind of sink maybe 2 to 5 episodes into the series to see if that's for you, and that's especially true for anime. I know not just for myself, but for a lot of people, this is especially true for Stranger Things, and look at how big of a phenomenon that is. Now, my buddy from work, it being his first anime, I didn't ask whether it was sub or dub, all I asked was what he was watching. I was expecting to hear Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, you know, something very basic for a starter anime. And he looks at me in the eyes and he says, Cooking Wars. What? I said, seriously? And he says, yeah, it's pretty good. And you know, if you watch anime and your buddy mentions an anime that you haven't seen yet and he says that it's pretty good, there's only one thing to do. And so I hopped on over to Verve, looked up Food Wars, and indulged myself in the first episode. It's dubbed because I was too lazy to change it.
Well, let's do this. Please enjoy.
Why? He's so handsome.
Might use the judge this time. Whatever, Dad. You don't know.
Fuck you, Dad.
What? Oh, man,
The fan service.
So putrid. You're gonna freak.
Bro. Marco, what the fuck? Yeah, never mind. Just keep rewatching the same bullshit on Netflix.
No! No!